Well, hello everyone and welcome to another episode here on the MIgardener channel. Hopefully you all are going to enjoy this episode. This episode is going to touch more in depth on something that we really briefly touched on in the five gardening myths worth forgetting part 1. And it's going to be talking about 5 reasons why beginning gardeners typically spend more than they have to. Now, I know that a lot of times as a beginning gardener, there's a lot of overwhelming things. And that's why I think the first reason is because you get overwhelmed. And I think it's something that happens to a lot of people. I know it happened to me. And that's that you look out into the sea of gardening products and you want to start your garden, but you don't want to take the time to file through all of the different things that are out there. And so you might impulse buy on something because you just don't want to get overwhelmed. You say, I'm just going to be happy with this. And when you get to actually looking deeper into it, you get more time to look, you say, wow, I really overspent where I shouldn't have. And I know that definitely happens to me. So my best recommendation for you to alleviate that is to plan ahead. Oftentimes as gardeners, we plan in February or March for our garden. That's way too late. That is when people are already starting seeds. Right now is when I would recommend, if you have not yet started a garden or this is your first year and you think you probably spent more than you should have, you can't really go back and fix that problem, but you can move forward in the right way. And so what I would recommend is start looking at your options now. Start looking at stuff when stuff is on clearance, believe it or not. We just picked up at Walmart, we picked up some raised beds, believe it or not, cedar raised beds, 4x4, and we got them for $9 a bed. I know, it was unbelievable. They're normally $35 and we got them for $9. And it was just a great steal. And so, yes, start planning now, because although that option is the same option that will be available in the spring, it's going to cost you, well, like 20 or so more dollars. And so this is a great way so you can have, the same option but save some money as well. And that's why I said, look at your options and also start planning right now, because it gives you time to look at your options throughout the entire course of fall and winter. So there's number one reason, just get overwhelmed. Now the second reason I think is something that everybody struggles with, and that is that you use more seed than you have to. This one is one that I guarantee a lot of you have had, and I know me personally, I planted way too much seed when I was starting, and I sometimes still do. Sometimes I'll just overzealously plant some seed, thinking that the spacing is fine, and I end up using a whole seed packet. At MIgardener.com we sell seed 99 cents, and the seed that we provide is, we get a lot of seed per packet. You're talking like 1,000 carrot seeds. And I found myself using a half a packet of carrot seed for, a quarter of a bed. And we're talking, the beds are 40 square feet, so you're talking maybe like 10 square feet. You're using 500 carrot, well, not you, me. I'll take the blame on this one. I was using 500 carrot seeds in 10 square feet. I mean, no, never. Number one, I'm wasting way more money than I have to. I'm using way more seed than I have to. And so you're really not using your seed as effectively as possible. And one way to alleviate that is we have a product for you, and we made this product very inexpensive. And you've probably already seen the episode that we did on it. We have on MIgardener.com a high intensity spacing guide. This will save you money, and it will save you seed, which also will save you money, I guess. It's going to save you time when you're spacing, because they're already spaced out. These guides are amazing. So we have this is the welcome page here, but we have 6, count it, 6 spacing guides for varieties that are usually better direct sown. And so we haven't gone and done tomatoes, we haven't gone and done peppers, because those are very easy to space out. But when it comes to things like radishes and lettuce and carrots and beets and beans and onions, stuff that have very small seeds, where you want to direct sow them in the ground, those can get very overwhelming, and you can spend a vast majority of your budget on those seeds just using more than you need. So that's definitely going to help you out, just spacing them properly and realizing that one seed equals one plant and you don't have to put in 5, 6, 7 seeds into a planting hole, because really all it takes is typically two seeds, and you should get a plant out of that hole there. So hopefully that helps you guys out. I know that, like I said, it's something that I really struggled with, and once I actually started looking at how much seed I was putting in each hole, actually being very conscious about the spacing, I noticed that my seed went a lot further, and since seed doesn't go bad, I could store it in the fridge, in the back of the fridge, or I could store it in the freezer until next spring, and or just in a cool, dark location, and I could keep it till next spring and use it again. So I didn't even have to buy seed the next year. So that's great, and I really try to stress that as well, that you can save money by definitely doing that. Now, part 3 of why gardeners spend more money than they have to actually ties into part 2. And that was kind of alluded to in the fact that seed does not go bad the next year. As seed retailers pack their seed, they have to put, by law, they have to put that it was packed for the specific year. So it'll say packed for 2016, packed for 2017. That does not mean that it's well, it kind of is the best buy date, theoretically, but you can still plant it, years down the road. If you keep it cool, dark, and dry, your seed will last. So if you do not use all of your seed, I do not see any reason to buy more seed, because it's going to be the same variety, assuming you liked it. If you don't like it, don't plant it. But if I find a variety I like and I have some extra seed, I know a lot of times as gardeners, we like to start fresh every year. That's very much ingrained in all gardeners. I think with a fresh start, you want fresh seed. And I'm the same way. I like to get fresh seed as well. But I typically invest money in fresh seed for like new varieties I've never tried before. If I have a variety that I like, I'll A, try to save my own seed, or B, I will try to stretch out my seeds, really use them effectively, and have some left over so I can save them for the next year, because that's another packet of seed that I won't have to buy. So there's another reason why gardeners spend way more than they have to. That's because you're just buying fresh seed every year, and a lot of times you don't have to. Now, reason number 4, a lot of gardeners spend more money than they have to, is based on the materials it takes to fill your beds and build your beds. Beds, if you're growing in raised beds, can be one of the most expensive things you can ever do. Now, let me first start off by saying that I have definitely broken this process down ad nauseum to make sure that you have the most effective way to build raised beds for the most cost-effective price. So I know for a fact that that you guys can find the videos. I don't need to post the links because there's too many to even count, but we've built the raised beds for about $25 to $28. These were $25, these beds, and the ones at the cottage garden were about $28 a bed for a 40 square foot bed. Now, a lot of you have asked, well, what do you fill it with? We've already covered that. We actually did not buy, well, we did buy some, but we didn't buy that much filler soil to fill the raised beds. We actually show you in a video how we were able to use our very native ground in combination with something called core gardening, where you use straw in the middle of the beds in a trench, and that will actually take up room in the bed. It will also preserve soil moisture, so you don't have to water as frequently. And it's going, like I said, its primary reason is going to take up room in the bed, so you don't have to use as much soil. And we spent maybe about $5 per bed in extra soil. So we have 20 beds, that's about $100. But if you only have 1 or 2 beds, you're talking like $10 in soil, extra soil you might have to buy. So I definitely do not think that this has to be expensive, but the thing is that a lot of gardeners get duped into saying, well, I need to get cedar raised beds because cedar is rot resistant. Well, yes, cedar is rot resistant, but you're spending about $200 to $300 on raised beds, and these were $25. So you're spending 10 times more money, and the fact of the matter is these beds don't rot in a year. These beds will last between 7 and 8 years, no problem at all. These are just a regular construction grade white pine, okay? 7, 8 years. And so if the cost justifies how long it's going to last, are you going to be using those same beds for 70 to 80 years? Think about that one. So if the cost costs 10 times more, do they last 10 times as long? Or do you need them to last 10 times as long? Because even if they last 70 to 80 years, Are you really going to be in that same location 70 years from now? If so, maybe you might want to look into cedar. But my point is that for the length of time that the cedar lasts, you can replace these 4 or 5 times for still less than the cost of doing it once with cedar. So there are very expensive raised bed materials. You don't have to go with the most expensive materials. The soil, you can go with all bagged soil, and you can spend $200, $300 per raised bed in just soil. I've seen it done. I have no clue why people do it, but I've shown you how to do it for basically free. And so this should not be a reason why you're spending more money, but I understand looking, you know, a lot of people have made this mistake already. You probably made this mistake already. I know so many people have made this mistake already. And so this video is pointing out, you know, how to do it in the future, and hopefully I'm saving some new, you know, beginning gardeners that haven't yet started their gardens the loss of money, because it can be very discouraging to invest a lot of money into a garden and not really see the return right away. With these beds, you can pretty much plant anything. I mean, I could plant, yeah, really anything, and I could actually see a return on my money the first year. So after that, everything else is just, it's already paid for in the produce that I didn't have to buy. So there you go. Reason number 5, gardeners spend more than they have to, is unnecessary tools. There are a lot of gimmicks and a lot of tools out there that claim that it's going to be the tool that you will love. You have to get it. And to be frankly honest, for a beginning gardener, all you need are your hands, maybe a shovel, and maybe a watering can. Really, when it comes down to it, that's really all you need to maintain a garden. But I do have a few of my favorites. I have garden gloves that I love. They're almost a necessity if I want to keep my hands in nice shape, because when I have my hands in the ground all day, you know, your hands get really dry. And if I'm going to be doing a lot of like meeting and greeting and shaking people's hands and doing stuff like that, I don't like to have dry, brittle hands. So you know, gardening gloves are probably a good idea. A shovel, like I said, is a very good idea. I have a long-handled shovel I will not enter the garden without. I also have it is actually it's kind of a hybrid. It's got a blade on the shovel. It's a little hand shovel that has a blade on it, and it is like a multi-purpose garden shovel, a little hand shovel. I will not enter the garden without that. And then I also won't enter the garden without now knee pads, because my knees have started to get really, really scuffed up from constantly getting my knees in the mulch. So me personally, I probably would invest maybe like $5 to $7 on a pair of knee pads, because I'm always in the garden all day long. This might not be something that you need. So I mean, the initial investment in garden tools should be no more than maybe $30 to $40. And I know sometimes gardeners, they like to just buy every tool under the sun because they think they're going to use it. And to be honest, you really end up not using it as much, and you really don't get your money's worth out of it. And then you go back and you have buyer's remorse, and you say, well, wow, you know, I wish I wouldn't have bought that because I didn't really end up needing it that much. So hopefully that's going to help, because I know a lot of times people think they're going to need it and they end up not. If you really do like it, I mean, I don't see a problem with getting the tool and splurging every once in a while on a new tool you think you might like and trying it out. But definitely it's not a necessity. I would not say that it's a necessity to have a successful garden. So there you go. There are 5 reasons why gardeners spend more than they have to when gardening or beginning gardening, and 5 ways to fix those reasons. So hopefully you all enjoyed. Hopefully you'll learn something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home, and don't spend more than you have to. Catch you later.